Hi, everybody. Welcome to Lead with Love. I'm your host, Chris Greco. For the next 30 minutes, we're going to talk about somebody who I am just so thrilled to have on board as a guest, Barbara H. Smith. Now, those people that do not know Barbara H. Smith, shame on you. You should know her. Dadgummit, she's an executive coach. She's considered to known as she's known as the celebrity speaker trainer. Now, there's no, I can see why. Look at some of her clients. Her clients include Capital One, Canon, Alcoa, Blue Cross Blue Shield. This is just some of the ones. My dad worked for Alcoa for about 40 years, so I'm sure that he's probably sitting back going, "Yeah, Barbara, way to go!" In heaven where he is. So she's done some books. We're going to talk about these books as time goes on. She has made appearances on a variety of TV shows. The Doctors, Authority Magazine. She is the host of Empowering You Show. We're talking about an individual that has got a lot of experience, a lot of knowledge. She has visited Africa. I'm hoping she'll tell us a little bit about that and has talked to different leaders about being able to have African countries more self-sufficient, which God bless her. I think that's fantastic. So, I mean, she's received numerous national and international awards. By the way, she's an international author. International author doesn't just mean her books are offered. It means she's an international author, right? So she's International Service Awards, Estelle Collins Global Inspiration Award, appointment as a World Civility Ambassador from the I Change Nations, signed by His Royal Highness Sir Clyde Rivers and presented by the Special Envoy Dr. Reuben West. So I could go on and on and on and on. This individual is just really, she's on the A list as far as I'm concerned of guests. So without further ado, I'm going to bring on Barbara H. Smith. Barbara, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much.
I am uber excited that you invited me. Let me tell you. Thank you so much,
I'm
Chris.
just, thank you for taking the time. You're a busy person, very busy person. So I want to make sure that, we understand, what you have to offer, what you learn, the learn, offer, value, educate type thing. So we'll just get started right off the bat with the first question. So the first question is, well, first of all, do you want to say anything before I start with the questions?
I just want to thank you so much for our green room conversation where we talked about how we can help each other. And you are so candid and so frank and so willing to help. So I just want to say thank you to you.
Well, I think God puts us all on the earth to do something, right, Barbara? And it's to
Absolutely.
help one another, right? And to share information and knowledge. And if we don't share information, we're going to die with it, which means it goes no further.
Never.
I never quite understood the people that sit there and they grab up knowledge and they go, ha 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 ha. Well, that's nice, but what happens to it after that? So
Yeah.
you got to share that. So speaking of sharing, so who helped you learn your talents? I mean, you got to tell a speaker, you got to tell,
Wow.
I mean, celebrity coach. I mean, daggum, who helped you do that?
Well, I give all honor and praise to God for putting what he put into me. But I happen to have two loving parents who really just allowed me to do what I wanted to do. And I started as the first of five children. And so by the age of 8, I was kind of an instructor already. And I loved helping people learn things. Always. I got into trouble in school a lot because I was always out of my seat, helping other children get their lessons because I was always one of those ones who did their lesson early and got it done really quickly. So I had a thirst for knowledge and a thirst for learning from early on. And then I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to be when I grew up. I wanted to be an actress first and foremost. And so I went to the Jacksonville University, and I had a talent scout tell me that I would never make it. Dashed my hopes, and I dropped it and decided to go into business. Went into business because my father was an entrepreneur. He had his own air conditioning and refrigeration shop repairing cars in the 60s. And what he did was nothing short of genius. I did not recognize it at the time because I was a child, but he found an area of Bergen County, New Jersey. There were no Black people there. He was the only Black person in business in that area. And people would come in and call him boy and say, "Boy, where's the boss?" And once I heard a man say that, and I said, "Daddy, but you are," and he looked at me, he shot me a look like, "Shut it." Because what I discovered later on was that Black men were not supposed to have businesses in that time, in that area, or they wouldn't do business with them. And I learned so much from my father, kind of by osmosis, just watching him go to work every single day, not have to clock in for anybody and work for himself. So I ended up following a path of business and ultimately landed in information technology. I had no clue what I was doing, but I had some super bosses. Charles McGee, I give a shout out to him, who told me that I was a network administrator, but I was going to soon be a network engineer. And I told him, I don't know what you're talking about. Those career paths took me to the United States Joint Forces Command in Suffolk, Virginia. You know it well, don't you? And I learned that I was a geek, but I also had a personality. The geeks couldn't speak English, and the people who spoke English didn't understand geek. So I became the liaison between the geeks and the English speaking people. And I loved training those that did not understand the technology and watching them have the aha moments and then be able to go on and work on in their careers and in their jobs. So that's kind of how I learned what I learned. Just the joy of helping other people learn other things took me to my teaching and my training abilities.
So, and moving, as I told you before the show, you moved right into the next question. You know, what do you offer others from your talents? And you've said a couple of things, you know, as we go on. But before you even answer this question, I think I would like to add, I would like to go ahead and talk about a little bit about your books, because I think offering through writing and through these different aspects is so important. And I think this is so neat. You know, speak, coach, train, strategies to discover your purpose. You know, Elie Wiesenthal says it, if you know that when he was in the Holocaust and he was in he was in the concentration camps, those people without purpose died.
Yeah,
Those people with purpose lived. And all of a sudden, you know, they realized that if you don't have a purpose, basically, you know, you're dying alive. Basically,
right.
you're living. You're not living.
You're
You're
the
living,
walking
but you're not.
dead.
Yeah. That's it. You're not living your life.
Right.
So, you know, a little bit about this book, please, because I want people to make sure and get out there and buy this thing.
Well, Amazon has this Discover Your Purpose, but the actual title of the book is Discover Your Passion. And when you understand your passion, you also understand your purpose. So I guess they kind of switched the title, and it still works. But this book came about because I was speaking all over the place and I didn't have a book. And my coach says to me, "You're a speaker, right?" And I said, "Yes." He says, "Where's your book?" "I don't have one." He says, "That's not even possible. So I need you to write your book in the next 2 weeks." I said,
Wow.
"In the next 2 weeks? I can't do that." And he said, "Yeah, you can. You didn't understand what I said." He said, "Again, I need you to have your book ready in the next 2 weeks." And I said, "I can't do it." Finally, he said, "You weren't listening to me. Let me ask you a question, Barbara." He said, "How many speeches have you done in 20 years?" I said, "I can't even count." He said, "How many speeches have you written for those speeches that you did in 20 years?" I said, "I can't even count." He said, "What I want you to do is go back, pull every hard drive, thumb drive, notepad, sticky note, categorize all the speeches you've done, and get that book done in 2 weeks."
Wow.
And it was everything that I had done, how I came to speaking, what I did, the studying under the Toastmasters and the National Speakers Association and Dr. West and Live Your Best Life, and all of these trainings that I have done, all of these jobs I held and did speeches and taught people how to speak, were what came out as a book, Speak Coach Train, Strategies to Discover Your Passion. So that's how I got to where I am.
Man, I mean, isn't that amazing how we all have information like that, but we live
Yeah,
and realize we have it? It's kind of
right.
like I can't write a book not from scratch. Well, of course not, because you have experience and knowledge that you can share. So share the knowledge. All of a
This
sudden
was
it's like,
crazy, Chris. What's crazy is
wow,
when I did that exercise that he asked me to do with all of the
oof,
thumb drives, hard drives, notepads, notebooks, journals, I have 7 books that are still waiting to be birthed.
yeah. I, People do things they don't even realize they're doing them.
Right,
And then
right.
all of a sudden it's like, oh wow, I just talked to a woman today who does romance novels based on wedding planning because she was a wedding planner in
Oh, that's
Washington
so cool.
D.C. And I said, really? And she goes, yeah. She says, it's not like I don't have enough information. It's
It's
not
so
like I don't
important.
know. I don't know what a wedding planner does. So all of a sudden it was like that. So and that's good. So I want to show individuals the other book you had, because this is the Empowering You. It's your time.
Right.
So tell us a little bit about that one.
So this one is an anthology, and this is the Genesis series book. Being Genesis meaning that was the first one. We're working on the second one as we speak. The entire series is going to be called Empowering You, and each subtitle will be different. So this one is It's Your Time. This is a group of 9 ladies, one from Kenya, which makes your book an international book out of the gate.
Wow.
And this book is about the struggles that these women went through in their lives and the strength it took them to come to the other side. And so it's from struggles to strength. It's your time, empowering you. It's your time. Powerful stories from struggle to strength. And 9 ladies signed up, and 9 ladies are in this book. And it has been such a blessing to so many women.
Well, as a father of 2 daughters, I gotta get you in there. So maybe talking to him a little bit. So that's good. Not that they need it, mind you, Barbara, but you know how that goes. So all right, next one. What do you value in others? What do you value in yourself?
That's a great question, Chris. In myself, I value consistency. I value tenacity. I value straightforwardness, and I value most of all honesty. I love when people are authentic. So people who are authentic get to be themselves 100% of the time without apology. And so people that I work with, that I love to work with, want something more than sitting on the sofa. They want something more and may not be quite sure how to get there. And I, as the executive coach, am their path. Not that I tell them what to do. I just dig like digging for gold or diamonds and taking off the rough edges and showing them the brilliance that they are. So I love working with people who have a dream, not quite sure how to get there, or they're in a career path that seems like a dead end and they want to go to another level. It may be in the same career, it may be in a different career, but I love working with people who are even if they're not confident about what they want to do, but they know in their heart of hearts that they're supposed to be doing something more than what they're doing. So valuing their tenacity, valuing the same traits that I value in myself, their stick-to-itiveness, their wanting more, and wanting more for not just themselves, but for their communities and their families.
I love that not one time in that entire explanation did you mention recompense. Did you mention money? Because I think if people do things for money, it's it's not. I mean, it's not all shallow. I mean, you got to do. You got to.
You
You
got
have a
to make
service.
money,
You want recompense, right? I mean, that's the way it is, right? You have a service.
right?
You want paid for that service. But if the number one thing to do is money, it's kind of like. I mean, I can remember trying to talk about self-publishing and different aspects and all these things, and people sat there and said, so I said, well, how much money am I going to make? I said, if you're writing just for the sake of making money,
You're not going to make
that's,
much money off
yeah,
just writing
probably
books.
not going to be. If you're writing because you enjoy it, if you're writing because you want to share, if you're writing because it's a story that you want to share, that you're going to have fun doing, then that's the reason to write. And I think that's, you were saying that about valuing that with others is that, I want to do this. You know, not to put you on the spot, but tell me something that somebody has said to you and you sat back and you said, I'm a coach, so I'm not supposed to tell them that's impossible. But, something that was just so outlandish, so like way up there that you sat back and you had to really sit there and say, I'm going to support this individual. We're going to do this thing, but it just seems like, what a goal type thing.
Chris, as you were asking the question, I was trying to think back, and I really haven't had that
Oh,
experience. I have not had an experience where somebody's goal was so outlandish that it was unachievable.
good.
Most people aim too low and hit. Les Brown says
Oh.
the problem is not that you aim too high and miss. The problem is that you aim too low and you hit that goal.
And then
So
all of
I
a
help
sudden,
my clients see that if the goal is something you can accomplish in your own strength, it's not big enough. Your goal has to be your dream has to be so big that it scares you. Now you know you have a dream. Now you know you have a goal.
huh? I like that. In fact, I'm going to put that down. So you have to have a goal. Goal is so big it scares you. I'm going to put that down here because I want to make sure that it gets on the air. The goal is so big it scares you. I've never heard that before.
Really?
Never. You're the first I've heard that. I mean, now I've
Wow.
heard things like, be careful about how high you climb because that's the more distance you fall and blah 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 all the other stuff. But I've never heard that one, and that is good because it does. It scares people. All of a sudden, it's like, really? Yeah, can I do this? Really? Can I? I
Yeah.
guess you can do whatever you want.
Yeah. When
If
you
you
put
can
your
dream, you
mind
can
to
do
it,
it.
you can do whatever you want.
So I mean, wild. So let's talk about the next one. You know, how do you educate others, and how were you educated?
Okay, well, let's talk about how I was educated first. We have a national it should be program innuendo that we go to college. Okay, we were taught in my house that you should go to college, so I went to college. But what people make the mistake of is that when you go to college, when you go to school, when you go to elementary, high school, middle school, that's just the foundation of learning. We all should be lifelong learners. Information is changing so rapidly that you have to be abreast of so much all of the time. And how I educate myself is I take classes all the time. They're not degree classes or credited for credit, but I take classes all the time. I have one coming up on Saturday that I'm going to facilitate. I go to facilitations. I go to network meetings. I'm learning all the time. I read books. I attend webinars, seminars. And so that's how I educate myself. How I educate others is when I'm on a platform such as this, I talk about the things that I do to help elevate you. One of the things you mentioned is that I am a speaker. I didn't just become a speaker because I can talk, because we all learn how to talk at the age of 2. But what we haven't been taught is how to present ourselves. We haven't been taught those nuances of capturing an audience's attention. And so I teach that. That's how I educate. I educate through what I learn. I am a firm believer, just as we talked before the show started, Chris, that when I learn something, it is my duty to share the information with other people. Because what good does it do me if I die with all this knowledge, all this treasure? And I said on a platform in Africa, I would, because I'm so giving with information, I would, if I could, by osmosis, touch your hand and infuse every bit of knowledge, every bit of pain, suffering, tragedy that you don't have to go through because you already know what it's like. If I could do that by osmosis, I would do it in a New York second. But because I can't, I am so willing to always share information with whomever I come into contact. You will always be better having been in company with me when leaving. And that's my mantra and my goal at all times. When you meet me, you should walk away from me having learned something, having felt better, having been uplifted by just being in the same space and time as me.
So I want to pursue this. So you talk about people sharing and doing whatever. You live in a multi-generational home,
I
right?
do.
Right? With your mother, I think your mother's name is Queen.
Queen Agnes, yes.
So Queen Agnes. So tell me how Queen Agnes had, had that persuasive aspect. I mean, is she anything like you, Barbara?
Oh
I
my
mean,
God.
or is she? So she okay. So you were basically raised around an individual that just, again, the osmosis thing, right? You learn
My
from
mother
watching.
was credentialed in early childhood development.
Jeez.
Okay. And
Wow.
here's what's interesting about my mom. Not only was she an educator, still is an educator, because even though she's not working, she's always learning and always sharing information. But at 84 years old, she doesn't mind me telling her age. At 84 years old, she is on her getting ready to be on her fourth smartphone. She has 4 electronic devices, desktop computer, her phone, her cell phone, her tablet, and her smartwatch. And she is all about learning about the technology, texting, sending gifts, emojis, pictures, online banking, shopping at Amazon and returning things, okay? By herself.
Wow.
So she's of the mindset you have to have your mind continuously growing. You have to have your mind, and she wants to know about the technology. Quick story: when in 19, I'm going to give my age away for real. In 1990, when we were first embarking on computers for the public, because of
Yep.
course the government had them way before that, like in the 1960s, but in the 1990s, when internet was first coming on the scene, and I said from these lips that this is never going to work because you can't find anything. Chris, imagine had I been with the wherewithal to figure out how to find things on the web. This would be a whole different conversation, right? But we couldn't find anything on the web. There were no web crawlers. There was no Google at that time, right?
That's right.
But there
That's right.
were companies who had their domain names. And CNN was one of those. So I come home from work and my mother says to me, I need me one of those WWWs. And I said, excuse me? She said, I need me one of those WWWs. I said, Mama, you don't even know what you're saying. She said, yes, I do. CNN has one and I need one. Because she's a CNN junkie.
Oh, because I was going to say, now your mom can sit back and say, there it is, right? You have a www, right?
Yeah, I do.
BarbaraHSmith.com. There's your website right here. So we're talking about websites as if, and it goes out there. Now I noticed right here, you got an SES retreat. I mean,
Yeah.
you got a senior executive service retreat. I mean, you're at Hampton Roads, Barbara.
Well,
You're
I
at
got to correct you
Hampton
on that
Roads.
SES. I got
Oh,
to correct
yes.
you on the SES.
I'm sorry.
That's SES as in Sisters Empower Sisters.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, isn't that the same thing as senior executive service? And that isn't that
I
isn't
love
that the
it.
same? Isn't
Yeah,
that
it's
like
the same thing.
can you like
Semantics about
yeah. I mean, just we're gonna go with that. So yeah, but I mean, this is all kind of neat stuff, man. Speaker training. The one thing and I really appreciate my military was that they taught me how to speak. I mean, whether I was going through ROTC training or
Yeah,
they taught, how they taught you how to speak? They taught you how to make an outline. They taught you how to figure out what you want to say. They taught you how to,
right.
it was the old, figure out what you want to say it. And then what was it? Tell them what you're going to
Tell
tell
them
them,
what you're going
and
to
then
tell
tell
them.
them what you told them. It's
That's
like,
right. That's right.
just do
That's
those
the
3 things,
training.
Chris. And that's, all right, I got it. So it was that type of thing. So I mean, you got all kind of stuff here. Discovery, speaker, coach, your training. I mean, you got customized growth strategy like that. So I mean, hey, there you go. Billy Graham Jr. Oh my gosh, Joan Bowling, Shanny Smith, Wade Randolph. I mean, you got a staff, man. You got
Yes,
yourself a
indeed.
staff here. So I mean, there's all your friends here. So I mean, this is good. So barbarahsmith.com. So just letting you know, exactly what to do here. So I wow. So I'll tell you what, we only have about 4 minutes left. They're your 4 minutes. Barbara,
Awesome.
is there anything you'd like to say? Is there anything you'd like to, I always, in fact, I'm going to do it right now, just shamelessly. So here's my book, Lead from Love, available at www.lulu.com. It's also available on Amazon, but Lead from Love, there it is. Shameless, and now I'll hide it. So tell me, so what? 4 minutes, it's yours. What would you
Okay.
like to say?
Well, thank you so much, first of all, for having me. I want you to know that at the age of 3, I was an engineer. And by the age of 8, I was an instructor. But by the age of 16, I was a race car driver. I'm Barbara H. Smith, and I have over 25 years of experience, professional development, executive coaching, and workforce development. I'm looking for you if you are in an executive position and have lousy executive coaching. I would love to service your organization. You can find me at barbarahsmith.com. Don't forget the H, it's barbarahsmith.com.
And as an endorser here, I've been in government for 35 years. I was an executive at one point in time, the GS-15. I'm going to tell you right now, I really wish we'd have had at Social Security and at the Department of Defense people like Barbara H. Smith. I think what's happening here is the fact that we have a talent that, we talk about passions and all those other things. She's passionate. So I think maybe it might be time to, bring Barbara into the fold here, and get her going in these professional, executive aspects. She's got the experience, she's got the knowledge, she's got the interest and the passion. Let's put these two things together and move on. So,
I love it.
Barbara, I just don't know how to thank you so much for being here,
I
and
appreciate
for engaging. Could you stick around a little time after the show for me, please? Or
Absolutely.
just, yeah, and thanks again, and geez, give a big hug to your family for me,
I
and
will.
take care, and good luck in the future. We'll
Thank you
get you
so
going.
much.
Take care. This is Chris Greco signing off for Lead with Love. You can see this show on PODTV, Roku TV, also on my channel, the Greg Tech channel on YouTube. There's 2 Greg Tech channels. Look at the one with the logo that's up here, and that's the Greg Tech channel. So, this is Chris Greco signing off. Thanks again so much for watching, and always, people, always, always, always lead with love.